and welcome to the Danny Grieves Show. This is Scott Kirker, along with Metamore head coach Danny Grieves.
Hello.
Coach, it's been about a week and a half since we talked last, but in that span, you've gone on quite a run. Your team is really starting to play well, and that's kind of how you want to be at this time of the year.
Well, you want to play your best ball at the end of the season. I still think our best ball is yet to be played, so I don't think we peaked yet.
The first game since we talked last, I believe, was the Normal West game. You went over there, didn't play your best, but the thing that impressed me the most was you played a good team during the week.
On their home court.
On their home court. You didn't play well, but you found a way to win.
I'm glad we didn't wait any longer. But you know, our kids did grind it out. You could just see the look in their face. Never at any point in time did they think they were going to lose. And but with our strength of schedule and what we've put them through for the year, it's just the residual effect of that.
Yeah, I thought that, and I think we've talked about this before. Not every night is going to be a Rembrandt, a beautiful game, error-free game. There's going to be nights where you just don't play well. It doesn't mean you're bad.
It was not a Rembrandt night. It was more like a 3-year-old elephant with a paintbrush in his nose just slapping paint on, because, man, that was a brutal game.
It was. But, the thing that, like I said, that impressed me was the fact that you found a way to win at the end. And it was your core four that really stepped up and came through and got the win for you.
They didn't waver.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
But, they're seasoned kids. And Zach Schroeder's been putting us on his back more times than not. And then you say that, but then the next game, some other guy steps up. So it's, and you talk about the core four, but, how about the core 5 or 6 that come in after them have been tremendous. We always try to have good team chemistry and know your roles, but and they've done a good job with that, but we have kids that want to be star in those roles. And that's not always easy.
No, it's not. I think in that West game, I think Tyson Swanson went off for, I believe, 30 points, 29 or 30 points.
Yeah, he did.
And, he was the guy that night that stepped up. It was kind of his turn in the rotation to step up and have a huge night.
They didn't have a guy that could guard him.
No.
And I got on to him a little bit before the game, and I said, it's time for you just to go off at the start of the game. And he took that to heart and really played well all night long.
You came back then the next Friday, the following Friday after that. And maybe the kids were looking forward to this game that we're going to talk about, the Washington game, the rematch, the heartbreaking loss at their place at Washington. You have the return trip to Metamora. Packed house, cold night outside, but it was warm, it was steamy hot, and it was loud.
It just seemed like a great high school basketball game. There's snow on the ground. I mean, it was everything you ever thought about when you were a little kid growing up. You go, man, this is really cool. The gym was packed, and the sights and even the sounds and the smells. I mean, it was an awesome night. Yeah,
it was. It was a great night. And, it was very similar to the game at Washington, except at the end. You guys came through and got the 5-point win.
Yeah, that was nice.
And I thought in that game, Zach Schroeder, that was truly the night. I thought he really came through. The senior, the guy that kind of put the team on his back and got the win for you.
Well, he's a senior captain and 3-year starter for a reason. And that's not the first time he's done that, but that's what those kind of guys do on big games, and obviously that was one of the biggest games of our season.
Yeah, it not only got you a nice win, it got you the outright conference championship.
Yeah, because then when we played Morton the next Tuesday, it didn't really matter.
Didn't really matter.
It didn't give them any fuel for the fire about trying to really knock us off and have to split the championship. But our kids did a tremendous job of really preparing for that Washington game, and then just went out and played it. It was really fun to watch them.
Again, that night you had a lot of guys step up at different times. Zach Schroeder kind of throughout the whole game, but different people at different times stepped up. And I thought that game was a real kind of telling how your season's been. It's not always going to be pretty, but at the end more often than not you're going to win. I think at that point, since the first win of the season over at Washington, I think you're 23-3.
Here we are.
And that's a pretty good little run.
Well, I'll tell you, it's finally nice to have everybody healthy and strong, and being in a practice for a week. You know, when we can do those kind of things, we got a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah, that game, you know, there were fights in the stands. There were
plenty of excitement.
Well, there was plenty of it was a good old fashioned Metamore, Washington. Donnybrook. It doesn't matter what the sport. Both sides were going at it, and you know, it was. But the kids on the floor, man, they played hard. There were no cheap shots. It was just good, hard-nosed basketball.
It was. Even the Mapson looked like it was a cheap shot right there at the end. He was just out of control. He was running so hard. He played so hard. You know, I really don't believe that was a cheap shot either. Although when it happened and it was a flashbang deal, it kind of looked like it. But after watching it in slow motion and see how he operates, he's just a big, strong kid out of control. Is what he was.
And they gave the intentional foul.
I'm glad that he ducked on that, put him right over his back. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. You know, that kind of when you guys went down in that game, you guys missed some free throws to make it look close.
We missed the front end of 3 1-and-1s in the fourth quarter, and still beat a team that was right on, you know, close to beating you. So when you say we did a lot of things against the West game, and we did a lot of things against this game, I mean. In a game that tight, where most of the times the outcome's maybe one possession, to be able to overcome those 3 mistakes, my hat's off to our guys. That was really something.
It was. But at the end, when you really, truly needed your free throws to ice the game, you got them.
We did.
And
that's just good coaching. I was pulling my hair out. That's what the coach was doing.
Yeah, and so were we. And It was a close game. It was an exciting game, and one of those games that, you know, when you look back at the end of the season, when the season's going to be over, you're going to look back and you're going to say, man, that was a lot of fun on a Friday night.
Yeah, that was a good win. You know, I tell our kids all the time, let's stay in the moment. You know, even now, we've got 3 more days before our game. I said, no, we got practice first. Let's be in the moment. And they were in the moment in that game every second. You know, it was just so nice when we break quarters down and say, okay, we got a 4-minute game. And there was times in there we didn't do very well. I go, hey, we got a 2-minute game right here. And they could just turn things around. I was really excited the way they attacked that entire game, because it could have turned out just the other way. They hit a couple shots there at the end to stay in it, you know, but our kids were, you know, they're road tested, man. And I'll tell you what, it's really helped us. At no point in time did they think they were going to lose that game.
I think with 3 minutes and about 15 seconds, Washington actually took the lead.
Yeah.
And then you went on a 6-0 run to ice it.
All the big plan to keep it close, huh?
Yeah. And then you had the return trip, and you mentioned this earlier with Morton at our place. And, you know, when you look at that game on paper, you think, well, Metamore really has nothing to play for. It could almost be a trap game. You just came off the big win against Washington.
Right.
You're playing a Morton team that, you know,
it's pretty good. They're a 2-seed over their own region.
They're a 2-seed, but you think, well, maybe, you know, the kids are going to have a letdown because they're really not playing for anything except pride. But boy, did your kids have some pride.
Well, when we put up keys to the victory on our board, that was number 1. It was a pride game for us, you know, and we've had some tremendous games against Morton in the past, as you know. As a matter of fact, I think when I got here in 2011, we hadn't beat them in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And so it's been always a knockdown, drag out since I've gotten here. And so it was nice to beat them 3 times last year and beat them by 21 points over their place and get them again here. And our kids were hungry.
You beat them by 12 this time. You know, when you go back to your first year at Metamora, the first Redbird replay game we did was your game against Morton when they had Bisping.
Bisping, yeah. They were rated number 4 in the state.
And you beat them by 24, I believe?
We got on fire. We were up by 20 at the half. I think my son Jackson had 37.
Yeah. You guys,
he just went off on him.
It was just a complete thrashing of Morton.
Yeah, that was fun.
But
they didn't know what hit them.
No, they didn't.
They were on the bus going, and what just happened?
Yeah. There might have been a few more colorful words in there too. But but the other night I thought that was an outstanding ball game, and the other thing that was kind of nice about that whole night, it was a Tuesday night at our place, is it capped off the conference season. It capped off a couple of things for you. One, you finished undefeated at home this year.
Right.
you won the conference.
Right.
Your sophomore team won the conference.
Right.
And your freshman team won the conference.
And they went undefeated.
And they went undefeated.
Sure did.
And your sophomore team with a lot of good players, a lot of players that you've taken from them, left Brockhouse sometimes shorthanded.
Yes.
Still found a way to win a lot of games.
Sure
I
did.
think he only ended up, would they finish 21-4?
They didn't have many losses.
Yeah, it was. They end up having a great year.
Yeah.
But your freshman team, outstanding, undefeated, and didn't just beat teams, they blew some teams out.
Yeah, they did.
And you probably have a little bit of a special interest in the freshman team.
Yep, sure do.
Your grandson plays.
He's a decent player.
Yeah, and they've got some nice young players coming along.
Great chemistry with those kids. Very unselfish. Got quite a few different guys that can score. You know, they look like a bunch of midgets out there and play big teams, and it doesn't matter. They just really do well.
So the future from that aspect looks fantastic.
So you're telling me if we get any kind of coaching at all, we ought to be pretty good?
Just a little bit.
I've seen that before.
So,
and you're right.
You know, they've the teams have bought in. They run your offense to a T, and you watch them play, and it's just, you know, teams have a hard time keeping up with Metamora. You know, it doesn't matter the level.
You know what? And all the credit goes to the kids. We work them to death. When they're here for 2 hours, there's not much downtime.
No.
I've seen a lot of teams that has coaches that out of a 2-hour practice, you know, they love to hear their voice and they talk about an hour of it. You know, we hit them with a quick message and then we just go to work with different, you know, we work on fundamentals every day. And teams that watch us play, they go, man, how do you guys make them do fundamentals so well? I go, that's all we do is fundamentals. And before you know it, you know, you inch along, you got big gains, and those guys are pretty strong with those kind of fundamentals. And, you know, to me, it's not the great behind-the-back passes and the big dunks. You know, it's just the basic fundamental stuff that really is successful.
And you guys have done that. You play great defense. You make the extra pass to get from a good to a better shot.
Good, better, and best.
And
we hit best quite a few.
You get best probably more than any team I've seen this year. Yeah. But the defense is the thing that just amazes me. How you just, you know, teams come out and they'll be on fire and they'll be on fire, and then at some point that constant in-your-face pressure wears on them, and then they're the ones making the mistakes.
Well, you've got some really good talent in the area. Maybe it isn't loaded as much as it used to be, but there's still really good players almost on every team. You know, instead of having 4 and 5, teams have 2, 3, and 4. And so, you know, but you've got guys that, you know, like to shoot and think they're shooters and they're not, and we just try to get them as many shots as we can. You know, just like Morton, they've got some really good shooters.
Yeah, they do.
But they're so dominant on a strong hand. You know, like Bo, he's going to go right every time.
Bo Durbin.
He, you know, I don't know how many times he's gone scoreless from the field, but he didn't have a bucket that night.
Yeah, I was just going to mention
he was 5 or 6 from the free throw line, but couldn't get a shot off.
Those were the only 5 points he had.
And those are the kind of things that our kids have done well, is taking away what the other team does best. You know, whether it be, you know, just like Richwoods, they got some kids that are really good, and they're all right-handed. Well, let's take that right hand away and see what they can do left-handed. And so those are the things that takes a lot of work, you know, and a lot of paying attention to detail with film and breakdowns, and then and that's what we do, and that's where our success has been. And you know, there's nobody better than Justin Dame as far as putting clips together. Like today, you know, we play Richwoods on Wednesday, and today we had film session. We watched a game of theirs, but then we saw 113 clips of what they do exactly. You know, and those are the kind of things that, you know, when it comes down to a 1 or 2 possession game, I think we have an advantage because we're so well prepared.
I think so too, and nothing surprises these kids. Nothing that is going to happen in this, and you're going to face a team that's going to be very good. At some point, you're going to face a very good team. But the thing that gives you the advantage is you've been through these wars. You've gone up to Chicago on your day off, on the school when everybody else was home.
How fun was that?
That was a blast.
Yeah,
you went into the heart of Chicago, and you played a very good Oak Park River Forest team up at Hyde Park, you know, which is right off Lakeshore Drive. And you had a great game. Got a thrilling buzzer beater from Devin Dunn.
5 points in the last 12 seconds.
9 seconds.
Was it 9?
9 seconds. 9.3 when you called the timeout. You know, you've gone down and played at the State Farm Classic. You've played at the Tournament of Champions over in Washington. You haven't backed away from anybody. You played teams from out of state. You played the best teams in the
Big 12.
Look at Wheaton Warrensville South. They got 2 losses on the year, and you lost by you were within 3 points.
We were right there.
At the end they just kind of wore you down, but you were right there. They're ranked number 4 in 4A.
Yes, they are. And rightfully so. They're really good.
They're really good, and you probably you could make the argument you should have beat them.
East St. Louis is pretty good too.
East St. Louis is pretty.
I'd like another shot at them though. I think we do a better job the second time.
Oh yeah.
We're a much better team now than we were then. But we weren't whole back then. We didn't have everybody healthy. With health issues and injuries, and I'd like another shot at them right now.
And that's how you want to be. You don't want to be peaking at Christmas.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, and you're starting to peak now. You look at your team, and you talked about, your regional starts this coming Wednesday at Richwoods against Richwoods. So you're playing the host team on their home court. And
who's got some really nice wins. I mean, they beat Notre Dame. Look at their resume. They're a good team.
They've got some wins, and that whole region, that whole subsectional is really tough. You come out of there.
I'll take our regional against anybody's in the state.
Yep.
With those 4 teams. I mean, think about it. Central's loaded too. They've got some marquee wins all season. So all we've got to do is come in and play Metamora game plan A. Because like I just told our kids a few minutes ago when we were in practice, I said, it's truly about us. With what we have and where we've been, we'll be prepared, but we've got to defend and take care of our business.
And I always talk about being mentally tough, and sometimes teams don't win because they're not mentally tough.
Right.
But that's the one thing that you watch this team. High school kids, every game there's gonna be a game or 2 in a basketball season. It's a long season. You play 30 games. There's going to be a chance.
Grind.
There's a grind, and it's a marathon. And there's going to be nights where you just aren't mentally sharp.
Right.
But when it counted, and when you needed, more often than not, your kids were mentally tough. It's the most mentally tough team I've seen in a long time.
Well, we work hard in practice, and everybody says that, and that's true. But our practices are meant to be harder than games. Ask a guy like Joe Nealon a couple of years ago. Or just anybody, but when you can do those things, then the game slows down for you, all right? And those guys that aren't putting through that, the game's so fast they can't react, they can't make plays. And I think that's the one thing that's really helped us, is our strength of schedule. But if you think about our strength of practices, and you saw our practice today, you put the red team out there, and they're all over us. They can make us look pretty bad at times because they're just going all out. So, when we talk about, it's truly a team effort. It is, and it's not just about the 5 starters and the 6th, 7th, and 8th man that get in quite a bit, and then 9, 10 once in a while. It's all the guys, man. We had a tremendous practice today. It was knockdown, drag out, bloody elbows, bloody nose. I mean, so that's the kind of stuff that's going to prepare you.
Yeah, and it's exciting. It's hard to believe that here we are. It's regional time.
It went crazy fast.
The season just flew by.
Yeah, it did.
I can remember at the beginning of the year we thought, okay, we got 9 home games left.
Right.
We're done at home for the year now.
Yeah.
And that's
it was nice to be undefeated though at home.
It was nice to be undefeated, and it was nice to, we had those 2 big games at the end, back to back.
Yes.
And man, what a huge crowd! That was so much fun.
Washington was a sellout. Morton, it looked the same. I don't know if it was or not, but it was packed. It was cool. And the atmosphere is tremendous. Our fans are great. Our students are great. As you come in here, everybody I talk to says, we love playing your place because the atmosphere is just crazy, and it's a shooter's gym. Yeah. And I think they're right.
The guys from Clutch who cover the games a lot say it's one of the smaller gyms in the conference, but it's intimate, and he said the fans are right on top of you, and if you make a mistake, if you shoot an air ball, they're going to let you know about it every trip down the court. And there's something special about that.
Yeah, it is.
And
6th man for sure.
Oh, for sure.
We definitely have a home court advantage when we're here.
Coach, I'll let you get going here. It's been a heck of a ride, and we got a lot more riding to do.
Yeah, we do.
And good luck Wednesday over at Richwoods, and we'll talk to you after the game after a big win.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That'll do it for the Danny Grieves Show. We'll see you Wednesday night